So the Operation Varsity Blues scandal is something that is, I think, shocked a lot of people. But when you scratch the surface and you think about how universities operate, how athletic programs at big universities operate,
legacy
it shouldn't
traditions,
shock you as much as it probably did.
No, it's crooked at every level.
No, let's not say crooked at every level. Give him a break. All right? Go to his podcast. You'll hear stuff like that.
Well, let's bring in an expert. Let's bring in someone who knows all about
Pamela
this.
Donnelly, college admission expert and author of 4 Keys to College Admission Success. First of all, Pamela, good morning. Star of Edge of Night. Hello, Pamela.
Oh, goodness. Good morning. We're going to start there, are we?
Yeah, we are, because you have a great story along with what you have to talk to us about. Pamela was a model and an actress and had a nice little acting career going. She was married to a rock star. She had all those kind of superficial things you say, this is perfect. And then one day she said, I don't like my life. I don't like the way I'm living. Who would be the true me? I want to find that out. And you ended up in dealing with college admissions. Now, I know that's superficial. How close was I?
That's a pretty fair summary. We can start there, sure. Good morning.
Good morning. And now you're in the world of college admissions, which people don't pay that much attention to until now. And now it's the focus of attention. Just first of all, give us your overall reaction to Varsity Blues.
You know, I think it's wonderful that this is coming out, even though it's terrible that it's been going on for so many years. Let's face it, we want a more level playing field for students across the country. Now that we can really shine some bright light on some really cobwebby corners of how this whole system is set up, maybe it's time we can finally change it.
And how pervasive is this? Is this something that just happens at a couple of top universities, top programs, or does this go on from the biggest, baddest universities all the way down to the small colleges?
The small colleges are actually fighting to stay open and stay in business. So what's happening out there is that the larger schools are culling more and more of the focus of the high-level folks who can afford the types of things we've seen in this scandal. The smaller schools, some of them are closing business, having to collate their university libraries and things like that to even stay open. So, no, you don't see this at the what we would think of as the smaller liberal arts schools, some of the ones who are really just hoping to keep enough kids coming in to apply.
Pamela, part of the problem is that you can't get into some of these schools. So we've talked about this. You can live in Los Angeles and have a 4.3 grade average coming out and great SATs or whatever else and still not get into UCLA or Berkeley or USC.
That's absolutely true. No, the admissions rates have been falling at a pretty steep decline over the last 15 years. Many more applicants coming in, 108% increase in the last 15 years, based on, common application and other ways, making it much easier for students to apply to more schools. But what that does is it creates a tremendous amount of competition at the higher levels. And you're right, we know students with 4.6 GPAs and nearly perfect test scores who have been listed or declined at some of those types of schools.
Given that reality, how often do parents come to you and ask you to do something unethical and or illegal to get their kids into a top university?
I have never had anyone explicitly ask me to do something illegal because our reputation, Valley Prep Tutoring Services is my agency here in LA. And then, as you know, Gate College System, our digital program we're launching. These are not programs that people know not to even try that with us. But I have had unethical requests. I've had parents, probably I'd say half a dozen times over the last 5 or 6 years, come to me and ask for things like helping their student. Like, can you just write my student's essay for me would be an example of a request like that. Answer, absolutely not. And what are you thinking? What kind of a parent asks their kid to silence their voice and have an adult try to sort of phone that in for them.
Pamela,
but no, it's not that common.
Pamela Donnelly, one of the ironies or coincidences here is that I alluded to Edge of Night, the daytime soap opera. You and Lori Loughlin were on it, I believe, at the same time. So you know her. What advice would you give her right now?
Wow. It's time to really do some searching. My advice, I'm not a lawyer. I would come to her as a friend. I would encourage her to really think about where she came from as a student who grew up without advantages, with, first generation, parents not having college degrees, about the other kids out there that have been displaced by your behavior, and really throw yourself upon the mercy of public opinion. You owe everyone a really big apology.
She was signing autographs as she entered the courtroom. She rejected the offer the prosecutors gave her. She said that she thought she was breaking the rules, but not breaking the law. Felicity Huffman, who's also been caught up in this, has gone in the exact opposite direction, where she showed up looking very contrite. She is working with the prosecutors on coming up with a deal, and certainly hasn't made any public statements like that. Why do you think Lori is not going in that direction? Seems like a mistake to me.
I think that's the consensus among most folks. She has a much larger penalty facing her if she does, be convicted here, right? I mean, think about this: $500,000 versus $15,000 that Felicity paid for the behavior that she did, right? So there's a massive gap there. There are more steep penalties for Lori, upon conviction. So I think that's why. I think also there may be some, who knows? We can all speculate. I mean, the signing autographs, that was a misstep. We can all sit here and go, wow, what is this person thinking? By the way, I haven't talked to Lori in so many years, but yes, we were on a show together in the early 80s. I mean, my gosh, 1983, our dressing rooms were side by side. Does that give me any insight? Of course not. But it is a little bit ironic that we were in storylines together back in the day, and now I'm being asked consistently in the media that I'm doing to comment. I have compassion as a parent, but gosh, that was a really, really bad move on their part.
Well, especially when you see the videos from the daughter, Olivia Jade, where she's saying, I don't care about school, I don't want to go to class, my parents are forcing me to do it.
Much worse. Pamela, listen, if you look at college admissions, and for instance, you look at athletic programs, and especially the big two, basketball, men's football, you know that all kinds of things and rules are being bent to get good athletes who don't academically qualify to get in. How does that fit into the overall picture?
Well, if you look at Division I, Division II, there are different rules for different levels, but certainly I've worked for many years with athletes who are very strong, football players, for example. I'm thinking of one was a long snapper, fantastic, wanted to go to a Division I school. He had to have a 3.5 GPA to get in, and he came to, our tutoring agency with a 2.8 sophomore year. We had to help him get himself, but that was legitimate. He actually did that work, and therefore there was nothing ethically wrong about that. Now, the problem becomes when schools say, oh, this person, is not going to academically cut it, but we really need to fill, this person who's got a great whatever kind of, they can do a three-pointer from the middle of the court in basketball. That is not really the way that we want to, fill our universities. And from their point of view, by the way, it's a risk, because one of the big fears from a university perspective is attrition. And they really don't want kids dropping out. They want great yield and they want low attrition. And so when you're bringing in kids who can do things that you think you want, but they can't, cut it academically, they're not going to last anyway. So that's a real judgment call on the part of the college or university.
So
Pamela,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We're out of time.
You wrapping her up?
I'm wrapping her up.
Pamela, I hope you're happy with your visit with us.
It's great to talk to you both. Thank you so much, and wishing everybody a more ethical road ahead for all of us in college admissions.
Thank you, Pamela.
Pamela Donnelly, author of 4 Keys to College Admission Success. You can get her on Twitter at Pamela M. Donnelly.